Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Genotypic's webinar series on application of nanopore sequencing in fighting the COVID pandemic. I am Dr. Prashant Bhaganna, Deputy General Manager at Genotypic. Along with me, I have my colleagues Dr. Manjunatha, today's speaker, Dr. Sudha Rao, co-founder and executive director, and Ms. Divya Shetty, application scientist, to answer your technical queries over the chat. As a pioneering genomics company, Genotypic has over the last 2 decades enabled technology adoption for biological research across academia and industry. Our endeavor is to bridge the gap between biology and technology. Amongst the many firsts, we are also the first and only distributor for nanopore products and a certified service provider for Oxford Nanopore Technologies in India. Today, Dr. Manjunatha, who leads the application of nanopore technologies in research at Genotypic, will share with you his experience and possibilities of using nanopore sequencing for understanding the SARS-CoV-2 genome. He will also present a variety of SARS-CoV-2 sequencing solutions available at Genotypic for Indian researchers. We thank you for joining this webinar today and do hope you will enjoy it. We will be happy to take questions at the end of the seminar. You may also post your questions on the chat box and our experts will respond to them. I request all the participants to kindly mute themselves throughout the presentation and also turn off your videos. Thank you. And over to you, Dr. Manjunatha.
Hello, good afternoon. So, my presentation actually includes a few introductory slides on SARS-CoV-2 and then later focusing on the few of the approaches on rapid detection and sequencing of SARS-CoV-2 by using nanopore sequencing technologies. So, we always wonder every day, like, what are the numbers? How many of them are confirmed cases? How many of them are actually recovered? So every day, day by day, we'll be looking at the statistics of this COVID pandemic and to have concerns on how we actually tackle this COVID pandemic. So as of like today, the total confirmed cases is like nearly 13 million, and of which a total of 0.5 million cases actually are reported to be shown to be casualties. So coming to the few of the brief introduction and the coming to the SARS-CoV-2 is a severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2. This is actually first identified in humans from China, in the located from the Wuhan city. So this is actually causes respiratory it affects the respiratory system, and thereby it is actually causing the disease in creating the problems in respiration and other subsequent casualties. So here this SARS-CoV-2 is a single-stranded positive sense RNA virus, and this virus is actually has been reported and sequenced from the first time it's sequenced from the Wuhan location. There it is reported to be the genome size is 30 kb. So here, apart from this, this actually this has a single-stranded positive sense RNA virus which belongs to the beta coronavirus genus. So as we know that there are so many different assays, different kits have been actually developed to detect or to test the SARS-CoV RNA present in the suspected cases. So there are 3 different approaches. One is rapid serology antibody test, and then ELISA. Then the third one is a diagnostic RT-PCR swab test. So these 3 different tests have been employed to understand whether the sample has actually the SARS-CoV RNA or not in the sample. So basically, this the first the rapid serology and the ELISA test is basically depends on the antibodies developed in response to the infection. So it's the indirect detection of the SARS-CoV-2 infection by the estimation of the antibodies present in the sample. So here the sample for the performing the test is actually the serum or plasma. Then later you can actually visualize that the diagnostic RT-PCR. So then the third test which I am mentioning here is the reverse transcriptase PCR swab test. This actually we can actually do it from a oral or nasal swab samples. So this is actually one approach where you can actually detect directly the presence of SARS-CoV RNA in the sample. So this is a direct test which we actually employ in the initial stages of the infection. So there is a enormous kits available developed in the last 6 months to detect the SARS-CoV infection. So among which the RT-PCR based tests are actually the gold standard diagnostic tests which directly detects the virus presence in the samples. So though, however, it has certain limitations like labor intensive and requires numerous additional reagents, as well as it also important to have a specialized equipment like qRT-PCR, all these things. So then coming to what are the different tests which are actually available, like antibody detection test as well as RT-PCR test. Which are the tests which actually be more important to analyze in the different stages of the infection. So if you see the temporal sensitivity of this assays for the detection of the SARS-CoV-2, you can actually see the soon after the infection, you can actually the symptoms actually initiate only after the 5 days of the infection, and you can utilize this RT-PCR based test, that is nucleic acid test, wherein directly you will be taking the sample from the nasal swabs or even from the saliva or oral swabs you can actually take for as a samples. Then you can actually test for the presence of SARS-CoV-2. So this can be used as a robust technique to initially investigate the presence of SARS-CoV-2 in the samples. So many of these antibody tests can be actually used only after the progress of the infection. So in response to the infection, there will be an antibody generation in the patients. So then only we can actually identify the antibodies present in the blood. So that happens only after the 7 days of the infection. So how does the this RT-PCR diagnostic test work? So if you just see starting from collection of the samples and then processing the samples to extraction, you can see there are different steps. First, you have to just collect the samples by using the like swabs, cotton swabs, where you can actually use nasal swabs or even from the oral swab samples can be collected, and it can be stored if you are not processing soon after the collection. Then you can actually use appropriate kit for viral RNA extraction. Then after the extraction, you can convert the RNA into cDNA by using the reverse transcriptase, and then you'll do the amplification by using the target specific primers, so which are designed using the genome sequences of the SARS-CoV-2 RNA. So then you will understand by the amplification curve, you can understand the amount of the viral loads present in the each sample. So here the positive RNA positive SARS-CoV patients cross the threshold line of 40 cycles within the threshold of the 40 cycles, you can actually see the fluorescence of the the test, which is actually observed way ahead before the completion of the complete 40 cycles. So this indicates indirectly the presence of high load. If the CT values are actually like 18 or 19 or like very low CT values indicates the high viral load is present in the sample. The late CT values indicates the maybe low loads or low titers of the virus present in the. So nanopore sequencing technology actually provides a scope for different products for even diagnostic for even testing as well as for rapid sequencing of SARS-CoV-2. So how are the scientists are using nanopore sequencing to research COVID-19? So there are three different major approaches for sequencing detection of the SARS-CoV-2. The first one is actually targeted SARS-CoV-2 genome sequencing, so which utilizes a protocol developed by the ARTIC network. So then the second one is actually the metagenomic or metatranscriptomic sequencing of SARS-CoV-2. So this is basically, for example, if you do not have any enrichment protocol, and if you do not know what is the virus has to be estimated, in that cases the metagenomic or metatranscriptomic sequencing would be helpful. So and then the third approach is to sequence a rapid assay for the detection of the SARS-CoV-2, which is actually recently which is under the development by the nanopore sequencing technology, which is called as LAMPO. So basically, the metagenomic and metatranscriptomic sequencing actually is will help you in identifying the SARS-CoV-2, provided there is a low host interference. Host RNA interference. So, coming to the first approach, that is targeted SARS-CoV-2 genome sequencing. Here, what we do is we actually enrich the targeted enrichment is actually done before the we take into the sequencing. So, this protocol is actually developed by the ARTIC network, which will take an average of 7 hours to get a complete whole genome of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So this basically includes there are a few steps, very rapid and easy library preparation steps, which includes which starts from the RT step, that is a reverse transcriptase, reverse transcription of the SARS-CoV-2 RNA extracted from the patient samples. So once the RNA is actually converted into cDNA by using the reverse transcriptase, this cDNA is used for the multiplex PCR, by wherein you will have a different pools of primers which will actually target the sequencing of SARS-CoV-2 RNA genome. So which are designed in such a fashion that the primers are actually the amplicons will actually have an overlap of 20 base pairs. So this primer sets are actually nearly like 96 primer sets are designed for to cover the complete genome of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So once the amplification is done in a multiplexed PCR manner, so amplified product is actually taken up and it will be purified by using the paramagnetic beads, and then this purified amplified product is actually further used for the further taken up for the library operation, wherein you will be barcoding the samples, barcoding the amplicons by using a nanopore barcode kit called as a native barcoding kit. So then further to that, the barcoded samples are actually further ligated by the sequencing adapter. Then it will be sequenced on the nanopore sequencer, where you can actually use different sequencers, like starting from Flongle to Promethean, depending on the where the experiment is actually conducted. So all this can be conducted in a different environments, decentralized environments, where you do not have any lab or any facilities, where you can actually carry these sequencers, and which is very easy we can actually conduct the experiment on field itself by using the MinION or a Flongle connecting to a laptop, or even you have one more version of MinION wherein you can directly load the samples in that and get the data out of it. So I'll now focus on the targeted SARS-CoV-2 genome sequencing. Then later we can actually discuss on the rapid detection or rapid assay for the SARS-CoV-2 detection. So this so why we have to sequence SARS-CoV-2? So what is the need of sequencing SARS-CoV-2 genome? So as we know that there are this viral to understand the viral epidemiology, there are several genomes have been already sequenced. So far there are nearly 3,400 genomes have been reported or been sequenced and deposited in a GI database. Then out of which from India there are nearly 82 genomes have been reported so far from the different geographical locations. So this actually helps in firstly to understand the viral epidemiology during the outbreak, which helps in actually monitoring the spread of the infection and to even inform the intervention methods and monitoring the impact of the intervention methods, and also which is actually important to understand the vaccine efficacy in the development of the vaccine, to understand how the mutations are actually reported in different proteins, different key proteins of the SARS-CoV-2, so which are actually involved in the infection or causing the the virulence in the different patients. So understanding, tracking the prevalence and distribution of the key genes involved in the vaccine development and their deployment is very important. So all this information we can understand by knowing the genome sequence. So this will help us in development of the vaccine, which is actually can be used for the longer time unless there is no any further mutations are occurred in the genome. So coming to Arctic network, as I was mentioning, so this Arctic network is a group of researchers, the network of researchers coming from different universities across the globe. So they are actually, they are experts in developing end-to-end solutions, especially for the viral outbreaks. So here, this Arctic network is actually modified five protocols, which are actually earlier used to detect Ebola and different outbreaks which are actually reported earlier. So here, this Arctic network, the group of scientists are very much uses whatever the available technologies, and they develop the protocols and bioinformatic pipelines as even recommended by the Oxford Nanopore as well. So coming to SARS-CoV-2 sequencing, as I mentioned, this protocol generates the 400 base pair amplicons in a tiled manner, so which has a overlapping sequence of 20 base pairs. So these amplicons are generated in such a way that it should cover a complete genome, almost, which is actually cover the 29 genomes. So there are a number of primers actually designed is like around 96 pairs of primers. So these primers are actually pooled together into two different pools and amplified in a single multiplex PCR. So once the amplification is done, both the pools are actually again pooled together and purified further. Then the purified amplicons will be used for the library preparation. So you can see the overview of the Arctic workflow, starting from the RNA extraction So once RNA is extracted from the clinical sample, so cDNA synthesis is performed by using a random hexamers. Then after the cDNA is done, we can actually perform the qRT-PCR to understand the viral load, how much viral load is present. Based on the cycle threshold values, we can estimate what is the titers of viral load present in each sample. So that is actually important to understand setting up the PCR conditions and amplification conditions. If there is a viral load is like very less, then in such case you have to increase the amplification conditions during the multiplex PCR. So here we have optimized at the genotypic technology, where we have optimized 3 different tools for uniform coverage across the SARS-CoV genome. So we have achieved more than 99% coverage of SARS-CoV genome by utilizing these 3 different pool of primers. So we have developed in-house pipeline also even for the analysis to generate the consensus-based consensus development, apart from the ARTIC pipeline, which is also standard pipeline, which is being also used in comparison. So once the multiplex PCR is done, so what we do is we actually may prepare a library by using the native barcoding kit, wherein we can actually barcode the amplified products up to like 24 were there, and now actually there is a opportunity to barcode up to 96 samples in one go. So you can actually load 96 different genomes in one flow cell and generate the data in hours time. And after the data is generated, you have a an advantage in nanopore sequencing technology, where in real time you can actually visualize whether the amount of the data generated is enough, or whether the amount of data generated is obtained enough coverage or not, by using a different web-based tool called as Rampart, which will actually on real time estimates the exact coverage obtained for the SARS-CoV-2. So basically, nanopore sequencing is actually a very very simple. It has a very principle behind this sequencing technology is very simple. Wherein what happens here is there is a nanopore, which is actually a membrane protein. So that is actually embedded in a polymer, which is electrically resistant. So when you load the library over the a polymer, where already this this biological protein, which is called as a the nanopore, is actually will be utilized for sequencing. So here, when the library, the sequencing library is actually has a adapter sequences and along with the motor protein. So thus motor protein actually helps in actually unbinding the double-stranded DNA and allowing the single-stranded DNA to pass through the pore. So where you can actually capture the change in the voltage at the pore. By this change in the voltage actually is caused by the nucleotides which are present in the DNA strand. So here a signature change is actually reflected as a signals or events, or which is called as a Swiggle file, which is generated from each read. So that will be later base called into bases. So once the one fragment is sequenced, the motor protein is actually detached from the pore, and the next strand is actually occupied. are recruited to the same core, and simultaneously there will be multiple number of cores present in the membrane will be sequencing. So here, as we are doing like nanopore sequencing, so as an advantage of nanopore sequencing, where you need not to do the fragmentation and you can get the longer fragments, why not we can do the longer amplicons? So why we are actually stuck to only 400 base pairs? So there was a paper published recently where they have used a rapid and inexpensive whole genome sequencing of SARS-CoV-2 using 1200 base pairs amplicons. These are tailed amplicons again. So here you can actually, this was done in comparison to different fragment lengths starting from 400 base pairs, 1200, 1500 and 2000 base pairs. So here you can actually see the genome coverage obtained in a different, different fragments, different amplicon fragments. That is like 400 tailed amplicons and 1200 tailed amplicons and 1500 as well as 2000. See, in this study they have taken the two different samples where one sample one of the sample has a very higher viral load and the other sample has comparatively lower viral load. You can see the CT value for the one which has a higher viral load is it is 20.3 and the other one is actually 31.2. So when you see this, the longer amplicons with the once the longer amplicons are generated, instead of doing native barcoding, they have actually utilized the rapid barcoding approach, where this library preparation takes only 10 minutes of the library preparation. So this actually reduces the library preparation and the sequencing from 7 hours to less than 3 hours time. So by using this technology, you can actually obtain a complete whole genome within 3 to 4 hours time. So here it was observed that amplicon size of 1200 base pair exhibit lower levels of variation in coverage compared to the other commonly used primer sets. So this method actually reduces the time by more than half compared to that of more standard ligation based library preparation method at a considerably lower cost. So now I will get into the second approach where the nanopore sequencing technology is actually utilized to detect the SARS-CoV-2 RNA in the patient samples. So this the second approach is that called as a LAMPORE, which is now in the development, and very soon by the end of this month we should be able to get all the assay kits available for everybody to do the assay. But anyways, now this LAMPORE basically is a rapid assay for the detection of presence or absence of SARS-CoV-2 in the patient, in the clinical samples. So this LAMPORE assay is actually can be utilized or can be performed at any environment, any conditions wherein actually you will not have a decentralized lab where you will need to have everything. Such things you need not to have a lab at all for execute the LAMPORE assay. Any in the office conditions, any in workplaces also you can actually execute the LAMPORE assay. It's very simple and it has a what our advantage of in detecting the as many samples at a given point of time. So basically, this LAMPORE has few steps. That is a collection of the samples, then preparation where you will be doing like you will be perform the LAMP PCR. Then we'll be directly sequencing it on the nanopore sequencing technology. Then further after sequencing, then you will be doing the analysis for the particular targets. So here I will go in depth into the LAMPOR assay, how it works and how it is actually can be utilized for detection of SARS-CoV-2 in a larger population. So we know that several RT-qPCR assays have been actually present like in the market for detection of this SARS-CoV-2 RNA. They are actually basically which have a certain limitations like for example the qRT-PCR based detection, actually the throughput is very limited because basically you will be conducting the experiment in maybe triplicates or duplicates. In such cases, maximum reactions you can do in a plate is about 96. So when you are conducting it in triplicates or duplicates, the number of samples that we can actually do an assay reduces to 48 or even like 33 samples only. So when you are actually need to do a like hundreds of samples and thousands of samples, this technology will be like very not much robust in compared to the other sequencing technologies. So here this nanopores technology allows you to detect the SARS-CoV-2 by sequencing. So here by utilizing the different barcoding approaches and by utilizing the very robust rapid lab kits, we can still identify or detect the SARS-CoV-2 RNA virus in the samples. So here the real-time sequencing can provide the quick turnaround time of the results and has a potential to enable the frequent routine screening like in the workspace or even in any office like environments. You can actually do it and identify the SARS-CoV-2. So how does this LAMPOR works? So there are this LAMPOR is based on the there is a principle called there is a isothermal amplification happens in this LAMPOR. This is a very old technique which was actually reported nearly 20 years ago. This is a LAMP PCR, that is loop loop amplification, loop mediated amplification of the target region happens here. So here basically this amplification is coupled with a color change. So if you actually take any target samples, the primers are designed to a particular target. So when we use these primers for the amplification for any sample, the basic we use the RNA or whatever the DNA sample as a template. So when we do it, when we actually amplify by using the target primers, what we observe is there will be a calorimetric change. That is a change in the color from maybe red to yellow is the what actually considered or yellow to red it can be. So basically you can see by the color change how many of them are positive and how many of them are negative. So here this happens if there is only amplification is occurred in the reaction. So due to amplification there will be a protons released, so that will change the pH and causing the change in the color. So sometimes what happens even at this stage you can actually see that there may be a certain inhibitors, maybe since we are working on the biological samples, that can actually inhibit the or suppress the color change. So or it may be certain instances what may happen is maybe primer dimer or primer artifacts also leads to change in the color. So that may not exactly give what is actually expected. For example, in this image you can see the negative sample is a yellow color, and due to the amplification you can see there is a change in the color. But you can observe there is one of the tube that is from the right, the fourth tube has not completely showing the red color. So that could be because of the maybe a primer artifact, or maybe since the sample might be as actually some since it is a biological in nature, it might have actually inhibited the color change. So so this is actually now coupled, is coupled with the sequencing sequencing technology, that is Oxford nanopore sequencing, which utilizes the rapid barcoding approach for sequencing these amplified products to understand whether the amplification or whether the color change is happened is actually true positive or because of the primer artifacts. So we can actually take this amplified lamp amplified products into the laboratory preparation, where we can actually cleave and we can actually take the amplicon DNA, amplicon amplified DNA, and we can directly utilize the rapid library preparation approach, which utilizes nearly 15 minutes time for the library preparation. So this again further can be actually utilized for the once the rapid library is actually made, this can be sequenced under any nanopore sequencers, which could be a Flongle, or it could be a Minion, or even it could be the Gridiron, which is for a high throughput sequencing if you are actually pulling multiple samples. So how this the only limitation at currently is the rapid barcoding kit has only 12 barcodes. So how many samples can be actually sequenced? So so there is a need to increase the number of samples, increase the number of barcodes. So due to so in that angle, there is certain publication wherein this loop-mediated isothermal amplification can be actually utilize certain primers where you can actually have a barcode in one of the primer, as a target primer. 10 base pair primer can be actually utilized. So here you can actually, I will not go more about the amplification, how the lamp PCR works. You can actually, this is actually happens, PCR happens in a single isothermal conditions. It takes nearly 30 minutes for the PCR to happen. So once the PCR is done, the PCR product will be taken further for the sequencing. So here, as I mentioned, to maximize the number of samples to analyze. So here, this nanopore sequencing technology has actually come up with the barcodes, which actually can be incorporated into the primer. That is, that's 10 base pair barcode can be designed along with the one of the target primers. So this can be used to incorporate the barcode into the products. So here there was a recent publication that is for the population scale COVID diagnostics using the compressed barcode space. So here by using this approach only, we can actually incorporate one of the barcode, one or many barcodes in a different primers. So once the amplification is done, the products can be processed to the rapid kits, which are basically works based on the transposase based kits, where the sequencing adapter is actually ligated into the directly inserted into the products by the transposase. So here, this allows you to do a dual barcoding, and which allows you to multiplex the as many as samples in a single bow. So reads have one rapid barcode at the start, and several lamp barcodes that we have actually inserted in the fifth primer is interpressed is spread across the amplicon. So this lamp amplifies a target of 150 base pairs to 180 base pairs. So here for the LAMPOR assay, this nanopore actually chosen three targets. One is actually coming from the conserved regions of envelope protein, and then nuclear capsid protein, and then is another conserved region from the ORFA. So these the primers are designed for all these three targets, along with one of the control beta actin as a positive control for RNA extraction. So the target regions are highly conserved and from strain to strain. So there will not be any cross reaction with the other respiratory viruses or human RNA. So how does the results look like? So actually once sequencing is done by sequencing these amplicons, the LAMP PCR amplicons, the nanopore sequencer, so you will get the different, approximately like 2 kb each with concatenamers of sequence from 180 base pair target region. The monomers within the reads are not uniform. Some span the whole target region, whereas others don't. So here different monomer subtypes, and one contains a LAMP barcode. So here what happens is, so you can see the total of 70% of the reads will have both the barcodes and match to one of the target sequences, which is actually shown in the right side of the image, where the mapping was done against the target region. So here, with the objective of the increasing the number of samples in an assay, so there is enormous R&D is actually in progress. So wherein they have actually, this Axpo Nanopore have come up with different LAMP barcodes along with the PCR rapid barcodes. So here they have tested tested different LAMP barcodes. Different means like up to 12 LAMP barcodes have been tested to select the best of this among the 12 barcodes. So you can see that they have taken 12 LAMP barcodes as well as with the 12 rapid barcodes with a varied concentration of the viral load. So once it is tested, it was observed that out of 12, there was a best performed were actually 8. So in combination, with the 12 barcodes, up to 96 samples can be assayed by using this LAMP barcodes along with the this rapid barcodes in a dual barcoding approach. So also this Axpo Nanopore is now in the process of expanding these barcodes to maximum of 96 LAMP barcodes and also 96 rapid barcodes, which can actually help in doing the assay for 9,216 combinations in one go. So this you can see here how this actually the LAMPORE assay works. So initially it was actually studied based on the standard COVID samples. So the standard COVID were actually procured from the Twist Biosciences and studied. And later it was, unless we actually test this assay on the real samples, will not understand how the assay is working. So this assay has been already tested with the real samples, which having different viral titers. So starting from CT values, which has samples having 20 and samples having 37 are being taken for the assay. So it was observed that nearly like out of 80 different SARS-CoV-2 positive samples tested, 79 of them are actually detected or confirmed by this LAMPORE assay, and the missing one was actually had a CT value of 38, so which could have been actually maybe because of the very low viral load, it might have missed from the detecting the SARS-CoV-2 RNA sequences. So here at this stage, we are actually, expecting this LAMPOR assay kits very soon. And currently, the external evaluation is in progress with the collaborators to check the sensitivity and the specificity. The results, primary results, looks very promising, and they are actually shown to be very good with respect to the sensitivity as well as the specificity of the assay. So what is next? So coming to once you understood about the whole genome approach, where complete genome sequencing is performed by using the ARTIC pipeline. Then coming to the next approach, where you will have a detection by the LAMPOR method. So what are we actually next up to? So just not understanding the SARS-CoV-2 RNA epidemiology as well as is not enough. At the same point of time, we should also understand the responses by the host. So how we can actually understand the host responses. So to understand that, we have to sequence the complete genome, which are the genes actually have mutations or methylations in response to the SARS-CoV-2 that has to be understood. And then so this has been actually employed, this has been actually addressed by performing the adaptive sampling. This is a very interesting and very good software algorithm developed by Oxford Nanopore. So this actually helps in selecting the when the sequencing is actually happening, we can actually select certain we can actually give at certain targets, or maybe a bunch of target genes to sequence. So we can actually avoid simply sequencing unwanted data. So targeted sequencing can be possible here. So this happens by giving the reference sequence. So while sequencing itself, the technology can actually see the sequence, and it will map the reference, and whether it is actually selected for the sequencing, then it can actually continue sequencing. If not, it can be actually stopped. So this will allow you to sequence only the targets. So here you can actually see the very lower coverage of data, which is if you are generating a 30 GB per flow cell, which is actually in total it is only a 10x for a human genome. But by using this adaptive sampling, where the targeted sequencing can be possible, which will help us in arriving the 50x or even 45 to 50x or 60x for a certain selected genes. And also there is a possibility to coming back to the LAMPOR, how we can actually remove certain bottlenecks, like extraction from the samples. We can actually do there are many instances what happens. Extracting RNA will be very cumbersome. Many methods may not work, or efficiently we cannot extract the RNA. So due to which there are certain papers to even they reduce the time of assay. There are certain papers actually published where saliva can be a reliable tool for the detecting the SARS-CoV-2. So here this saliva can be directly used in the LAMP reaction by adding certain by treating this saliva with some certain enzymes which actually do the inactivation of certain viruses, and then actually it can be directly used for the LAMP PCR, and further to that it can be sequenced. So, and the next further coming up, what we can do with the LAMP, is not just the SARS-CoV-2. We can actually design a multiple primers for different viruses, which actually can be detected simultaneously in one single run. So we can actually see there are different primers for designed for different virus which causes actually illness or flu or SARS-CoV-2 like symptoms. So there are different influenza A, B, and several other viruses were actually targeted here. So these primers were actually designed for that. Then this primers actually tested individually as along with the multiple primers as well. So now I'll hand over the presentation to Dr. Prashant.
Thank you, Dr. Manjunatha, for the presentation. It was very informative, and I'm sure the participants have got a great insight into the technology of Nanopore, as well as the application of LAMPO that's going to come in the future. In the next, I understand that we are coming to a crunch in terms of time is concerned, so I'll try to keep this next few slides as brief as possible. Over the next couple of slides, I'll try to take you through our products and services that Genotypic provides related to the SARS-CoV genome. So through our product division, we provide a complete solution to NGS labs who are interested in sequencing and analyzing the SARS-CoV-2. We provide all the reagents required for amplification of the viral genome, for library preparation, and sequencing along with the sequences, that is the MinION sequencer, GridION sequencer, depending on which is the requirement, as well as control systems. One of the major tools that we provide in relation is a data analysis software called Commander. That will make analysis a very simple affair with a built-in pipeline for SARS-CoV-2 genome sequencing. This is something that's going to be more of a click of button, and you'll be able to do the analysis part. The other part is with regards to our services division. We provide whole genome sequencing, metagenome sequencing, and direct RNA sequencing of SARS-CoV-2. These are going to be the offerings pertaining from services end of it. In case there are any customized services queries that you have, you can always reach out to us through the mail IDs that you will see at the end of the slides. So you will have me, Dr. Prashant, as well as Dr. Venkatesh, whom you can reach out to if you have any questions pertaining to the products or the services that Genotypic provides.